Good morning. We welcome this new day we received with a responsive reading from the Gray Hymnal number 439, We Gather in Reverence, with words by Sophia Leon Foz. I will start the reading, and you all will respond with the words written in italics. Since this is not singing, both the congregation here and the congregation at large get to participate. Please make sure your microphone is muted if you are at home. There we go. We gather in reverence before the wonder of life. The wonder of being together, so close, yet so far apart.
Each hidden in our own secret chamber.
Each listening, each trying to speak.
Yet none fully understanding, none fully understood.
We gather in reverence before all intangible things that eyes see not, nor ears can detect.
That hands can never touch, that space cannot hold, and time cannot measure.
Good morning. And welcome to the Unitarian Universalist congregation of Gwinnett. My name is Sherree Baileyy, and my pronouns are she and her. And it is my great pleasure to lead this worship service today while Reverend Jan is on sabbatical, and she will return to the pulpit on March 13th. If you have a chalice at home to light with me in a few minutes, please have it handy. We arrive in many places and many life experiences. We gather to recall our true selves, reflect on the meaning of our lives, and explore ultimacy together. We are people who are new to Unitarian Universalism and people who are Unitarian Universalists. People of many religions, many religious beliefs and spiritual practices, and we affirm and promote the responsible search for truth and meaning. We are people of many genders, sexualities, ethnicities, origins, ages, shapes, sizes, and expressions of our true selves. We affirm and promote the inherent worth and dignity of all people. We are people of all ages and family structures, and we each bring gifts, talents, and passions that serve to affirm and promote communities with peace, liberty, and justice for all. We are people of covenant who engage with one another in ways that promote and affirm justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. We are people who care deeply for our planet and understand we are inextricably and profoundly connected with the web of all existence. We are people who welcome all who are seeking a community of faith that welcomes your whole self, all that you were, all that you are, and all that you yearn to be. And you are just where you should be. In a room full of compassionate, thoughtful Unitarian Universalists, ready to meet you where you are. You are welcome here. You are home. And if you are a newcomer this morning, we welcome you and hope that you indeed find your spiritual home here with us. We are becoming a radically welcoming sanctuary in a green space. We foster spiritual growth as we joyfully nurture connections and community within our walls and beyond. If this is your first time here, I encourage you to join us several times to experience the full flavor of this congregation and this faith tradition. Come, be curious, courageous, and compassionate with us. And now Daniel's going to help with the centering sound. Okay, let's take a deep breath together to become more fully present to this precious time we set aside together this week. Settle yourself. Connect yourself with the earth. And as sound vibrates through us and around us, may we be reminded how deeply and profoundly interconnected we are with one another, all humanity, all beings, all living things, and all the stars in the cosmos. Thank you, baby. I always feel that I don't so much write a service as curate it. I start with the theme of the month, and the first just feel how it resonates with me. And when joy was assigned in December a couple of months ago, I was glad to volunteer for a service. I immediately thought of an anthem I used to sing in a choir 25 years ago, Joy in the Morning. It's based on Psalm 30. Sing praises to the eternal, O you saints, and give thanks to the holy name, for anger is but a moment, and favor is for a lifetime. Weeping may tarry for the night, but joy comes in the morning. There was, however, a night to endure before the morning dawned. And the way that I observed that in my life was, my catchphrase is, sometimes life sucks and the moments are transcendent. And then sometimes life is transcendent and the moments suck. And so what are we going to do? Because I want to look for and emphasize those joyful things and then endure the hard things patiently, which apparently I totally failed at this morning. And one of the joys that this pandemic is squelching at the moment is congregational singing. And I sat here last week and I couldn't sing, which was frustrating because singing brings us together and makes us less alone. So this week, as an exercise, all the places that we normally sing have been replaced by responsive readings. I read to you, and all of you here and at home read to me. And we can create this moment of joy, this container of compassion and of possible transcendence by the connection of our voices in unison. So, help me connect us all to this responsive reading by Leslie Takahashi. We are waiting. It's a reading for Advent. And on the screen, S, Sherree for me, C, congregation for you, and you all get to start.
Of wanting.
This is the time of expecting the arrival of something or someone.
We are waiting. This is the time of living in darkness, in the hues of unknowing, of being quiet, of reflecting on a year almost past.
Waiting for a new beginning, for a closing or an end. This is the time for digesting the lessons of days gone by, anticipating the future for which
we are waiting. Waiting for a world which can know justice, waiting for a lasting peace.
Waiting for the bridge to span the divides which separate us. Waiting for a promise or a hope. For all of this,
we are waiting.
Thank you. That was great. You're all good at this. Now you're going to join me in the chalice sliding words from the Gray Hymnal number 437. It's called Let Us Worship by Kenneth L. Patton, and I'll start this time. Your part is in the italics again. Let us worship with our eyes and our ears and our fingertips.
Let us love the world through heart and mind and body.
We feed our eyes upon the mystery and revelation in the forces in the faces of our brothers and sisters.
We seek to know the wistfulness of the very young and the very old, the wistfulness of people in all times of life.
We seek to understand the shyness behind arrogance, the fear behind pride, the tenderness behind clumsy strength, and the anguish behind cruelty.
All life flows into a great common life if we will only open our eyes to our companions.
Let us worship, not in bowing down with closed eyes and stopped ears.
Let us worship with the opening of all the windows of our beings, with the full outstretching of our spirits.
Life comes with singing and laughter, with tears and confiding, with a rising wave too great to be held in the mind and heart and body, to those who have fallen in love with life.
Let us worship and let us learn to love.
Thank you. Let's make noise. All right. And now we have time for the Wonder Box. Allie! Yay! So I've been trying to think of ways that we can do connective activities, spiritual practices. And I can't have you all dance a conga like I did a few years ago. But I do have several different ways to do some activities for connecting. One of those is there's a card table over here with lots of cards and stamps. And I would love for you all to write a card to someone. And it can be somebody in your family, or if you want to look through the registry, it can be someone who attends services here and maybe they don't attend anymore. And you can write them and say, Mary, whatever you observe. And yes, thank you. And I miss you. The other one is, as there's also a table in the back that has little ornaments on it. And you're welcome to put stickers on an ornament, color an ornament, and put it on our tree. And the other thing that I want to put on the tree is a chain. So when you came into the sanctuary, I hope you all got a strip of paper and a marker. Did you get the markers? Aha, here come the markers. So pick a marker that people can see your stuff. Out. And I'm going to read you a poem called Cargo. You enter life a ship laden with meaning and purpose and gifts sent to be delivered to this hungry world. And as much as the world needs your cargo, you need to give it away. Everything depends on this. But the world forgets its needs, and you forget your mission. And the ancestral maps that used to guide you have become faded scrawls on the parchment of dead pharaohs. And the cargo weighs you heavy the longer it is held. Spoilage becomes a risk. The ship sputters from port to port, and at each you ask, is this the way? But the way cannot be found without knowing your cargo. And the cargo cannot be known without recognizing there is a way. And it is simply this. You have gifts, and the world needs your gifts, and you must deliver them. The world may not know it is starving, but the hungry know, and they will find you when you discover your cargo and start to give it away. This is a season of giving and receiving, and if you've been here last night for the wacky elephant thing, you would have seen that even stealing sometimes can be fun. So I ask you again today, what do you bring to this congregation? What do you offer? The strips of paper and pens in your row, I want you to sit and think for a minute and think about this. Last night there were beautiful and desirable gifts and some strange and ugly gifts. I always like to bring that kind, being kind of strange myself. Both kinds of gifts made the evening fun and enjoyable. On one side of the strip of paper, write what you bring to share with this congregation. Your talents, your kindness, your patience, your love, a listening ear, your zeal, your compassion. We need those things here to connect us to each other and to grow our fellowship. And on the other side of the paper, write what you bring that needs healing. For this is a place that embraces all that you are, your loneliness, your anxiety, your fears, your insecurities, your feelings of abandonment. And we need to share these gifts too, for the healing of the individual, for the healing of the community, and for the healing of the world. And after you've written your gifts, wave them in the air, and Allie will collect them, and she will turn them into a chain, and we will decorate our tree to be the sign of our connection that creates this community. And if people who are on Zoom would like to write it in the chat or email us with those words, we will be glad to make a chain for you. I love this chalice because of all the little lights. And we're going to do another responsive reading, and I'm going to read a sentence, and you all are going to say, "The light is reborn," and Daniel will light a candle. This is called The Light is Reborn by Liz Benjamin. In the greatest darkness,
the light is reborn.
out of winter's cold,
The light is reborn.
from our deepest fears,
The light is reborn.
and when we most despair,
The light is reborn.
when all seems lost,
The light is reborn.
and when the earth lies waste,
The light is reborn.
and when animals hide,
The light is reborn.
and when the leaves are gone,
The light is reborn.
when the river is frozen,
The light is reborn.
when the ground is hard,
The light is reborn.
when the shadows are fleeing,
The light is reborn.
warmth will come again.
The light is reborn.
Summer will be here once more.
The light is reborn.
Plants will grow and flourish again.
The light is reborn.
Animals will be seen once more.
The light is reborn.
Green will come again,
The light is reborn.
and life will continue.
The light is reborn.
I'm going to let you continue to light candles while I start because my time is evaporating. And I'm feeling really emotional. So I hope I get through this. Last week, sitting here and being unable to sing reminded me of a time when I was not allowed to sing. The Bible is a bit like a person. It's filled with good, it's filled with bad, and some questionable practices. In 1 Corinthians 14, 34 and 35, Paul wrote, "As in all the congregations of the saints, women shall remain silent in the churches. And if they want to inquire about something, they should ask their husbands at home, for it is disgraceful for a woman to speak in church." Yeah, I was in that kind of church from the ages of 13 to 39, and it was a whole lot more liberal than the Southern Baptist church I was in until 13. We were allowed to sing, to play the piano, to teach children at 13, and then men had to teach the high school Sabbath classes. Divorce was also a terrible, terrible thing. And being in the world was a terrible, terrible thing. And I had this friend who was going through a very acrimonious divorce, and her husband's father was a magistrate in the small county that her divorce was taking place in. She asked me to testify on her behalf because she had been my best friend for a decade, and our families had done things together for years, and I knew a lot about her husband. Well, we had a newly appointed minister who said he forbade me to testify because we were not. Did I just lose my sound? Oh, there we are. My friend's husband had helped the new minister move into his new house and it created a very favorable impression on him. And if anybody knows me, you know I did it anyway. I was one of the church pianists at the time. And I worked with children doing art and sang solos 3 or 4 times a year and sang in the choir. The minister called me into his office and he banned me from serving the church in any capacity and to be silent about why. He told my husband that the worst thing about me was that I was believable when I spoke. I was devastated. Really devastated. You know, my experience had been the other 4 ministers I'd had in my life, they really liked me. And I got to do all kinds of fun things like I get to here. And I felt abandoned. But I didn't stop going to church because, man, if you stop going to church in my church, you were out. You were out. And you would be shunned. You never have a friend again. And I remember that maybe I would have even preferred had to be banned from speaking than singing because I loved singing so much back then. And my very quiet husband was very quietly angry with me. I felt really off balance and fiercely loyal to my friend, and she was sent to attend another congregation, and her husband remained in ours. And she lost custody of her children. And then I had some profound revelations about myself. Because apparently I thought more about what some man thought than what God thought. And that needed to change. And I would go to church and I would sit silently and think, in 3 years, you'll be gone and I will still be here because I'm very stubborn. And looking back, it felt like a very dark time, but it changed my relationship with God. And eventually, through my own sad divorce and the collapse of the denomination that I attended, I ended up here. And to be truthful, I was a bit bitter when the first few months I was here because I kept thinking, why couldn't I have found you 50 years ago? You know, I would have liked that. But I found you 6 years ago, and I'm so grateful. In 63 years, I have been abused and betrayed and abandoned, and I've been an abuser and a betrayer. And yet the wheel of time moves, and darkness becomes light, and ignorance becomes revelation, and night gave way to joy in the morning. And this is really, because I'm so glad to be here. And so here I am in the twilight of my life, basking in the joy and the illumination of acceptance and kindness, the love of my husband. Not the same husband. My children and this congregation. So, a little later in the joys and sorrows portion of this service, I hope some of you will tell me about your journey through darkness to joy.
This is a reading by Elizabeth Gilbert, and I thought I'd look up some background information on her. And on the way here, I realized I'd looked up Melissa Gilbert. This is not her. And I still, unfortunately, don't know anything about Elizabeth Gilbert, except she wrote this book, Be the Change, Poems, Prayers, and Meditations for Peacemakers and Justice Seekers. Some years ago, I was stuck on a crosstown bus in New York City during rush hour. Traffic was barely moving. The bus was filled with cold, tired people who were deeply irritated with one another and with the world itself. Two men barked at each other about a shove that might or might not have been intentional. A pregnant woman got on and nobody offered her a seat. Rage was in the air. No mercy would be found here.
Take your mask off so they can hear you better.
Okay. But as the bus approached 7th Avenue, the driver got on the intercom. Folks, he said, I know you have had a rough day and you're frustrated. I can't do anything about the weather or traffic, but here's what I can do. As each one of you gets off the bus, I will reach out my hand to you as you walk by. Drop your troubles into the palm of my hand, okay? Don't take your problems home to your families tonight. Just leave them with me. My route goes right by the Hudson River, and when I drive by there later, I will open the window and throw your troubles in the water. It was as if a spell had lifted. Everyone burst out laughing. Faces gleamed with surprised delight. People who had been pretending for the past hour not to notice each other were suddenly grinning at each other like, is this guy serious? Oh, he was serious. At the next stop, just as promised, the driver reached out his hand, palm up, and waited. One by one, all the exiting commuters placed their hand just above his and mimed the gesture of dropping something into his palm. Some people laughed as they did this. Some teared up, but everyone did it. The driver repeated the same lovely ritual at the next stop, too, and the next, all the way to the river. We live in a hard world, my friends. Sometimes it's extra difficult to be a human being. Sometimes you have a bad day, and sometimes you have a bad day that lasts for several years. You struggle and fail. You lose jobs, money, friends, faith, and love. You witness horrible events unfolding on the news, and you become fearful and withdrawn. There are times when everything seems cloaked in darkness. You long for the light, but don't know where to find it. But what if you are the light? What if you're the very agent of illumination that a dark situation begs for? That's what this bus driver taught me, that anyone can be the light at any moment. This guy wasn't some big power player. He wasn't a spiritual leader. He wasn't some media savvy influencer. He was a bus driver, one of society's most invisible workers. But he possessed real power, and he used it beautifully for our benefit. When life feels especially grim, or when I feel particularly powerless in the face of the world's troubles, I think of this man and ask myself, what can I do right now to be the light? Of course, I can't personally end all wars or solve global warming or transform vexing people into entirely different creatures. I definitely cannot control traffic, but I do have some influence on everyone I brush up against, even if we never speak or learn each other's name. No matter who you are, or where you are, or how mundane or tough your situation may seem, I believe you can illuminate your world. In fact, I believe this is the only way the world will ever be illuminated, one bright act of grace at a time, all the way to the river. When Sherree and I first started attending here, I had come to Cups for several years first, and then for solstice ceremony, by the way, we showed up at church. And one of the things that attracted me almost immediately was the sharing of joys and sorrows, as well as the service of compassionate presence, which we did, I guess, a couple of months ago. To me, when we do this, we serve as each other's hand, taking each other's sorrows to release into the flame within of empathy and compassion that we represent with these candles that are lit. So I encourage us to acknowledge our connection to each other and to the web of life, and then to recognize the truth of the saying, a joy shared is doubled, and a sorrow shared is halved. I'm going to be coming around with a microphone for any in the congregation that want to share.
Another candle for all those people who have been devastated by the tornadoes last week, for the 70 who perished and all of their loved ones left behind. And we light one more candle for the joys and sorrows that remain in the sanctuary of the heart. And may we hold one another with compassion and loving kindness. Amen. Lorena touched on this last week. In our congregation, we have been remembering those who died in violence, like school violence. And this is our ritual of remembrance. For the Oxford school shooting, 4 children died. Madison Baldwin, age 17. Tate Meyer, age 16. Hannah St. Juliana, age 14. And Justin Schilling, age 17. I hope they find comfort. And now the choir will sing, O Come Emmanuel.
O come, Emmanuel, and with your captive children dwell. Give comfort to all exiles here, and to the aching hearted cheer. Rejoice, rejoice.
Thank you. Our congregation is committed to creating a more compassionate world. And to this end, each quarter we split our plate collection with an organization nominated by people in the congregation and selected by our Giveaway the Plate committee. Our fourth quarter plate recipient is Lost and Found Youth. This remarkable nonprofit organization seeks to alleviate homelessness in the LGBTQ young adults 18 to 25. They provide temporary housing, food, clothing, case management, counseling, life skills training, job readiness training, and linkages to physical and mental health care and recreational opportunities. Our plate contributions also support the shared ministry of this congregation, and so I ask you, please give generously to support the work of this important ministry in our wider community, as well as the vision and mission of our congregation. And as we listen to our pianist, on recording, Brian Bishop, playing The Water is Wide, you will see on the screen ways to contribute to our offering via PayPal, Venmo, or by mailing a check payable to UUCG to the address shown. If you are worshiping with us for the first time, your presence here today is a generous gift to this community, and you may choose to let the plate pass. The offering will now be most gratefully received. And thank you, Barbara, for the beautiful flute. I couldn't read my chicken scratching here. May the generous gifts received this week move us towards realizing our vision of a more connected and compassionate world. Please join me in offering gratitude this morning. I am grateful for my worship associate, Daniel, and for Ali Paris for helping with the Wonder Box, and Candace for lighting the candles. I'm also grateful to the choir and Michael Parker, who was our choir director, and Brian Bishop, who accompanied on a recording. I love the tech team. Today, Dan Kelly, Justin Miller, and Alex Hebda. And I'm also so grateful to Christiana. Earlier this morning, I was thinking, oh my God, she saved my bacon. And then it was, oh my God, she saved my bacon and eggs. And then, oh my God, she saved my bacon and eggs and toast, and really, even the orange juice. So, thank you, thank you. And for Damon for setting up this Christmas tree. And I'm hoping when you all come back, you will bring an ornament or else make an ornament before you leave. The Zoom manager. Who's the Zoom manager? Was Christiana. Okay. I just wanted to make sure. I think I have everyone. And if I don't, forgive me. Now is the time for our call to connection within our congregation and beyond our walls. And if you are new to our congregation, and if you haven't done so yet, please sign up for our weekly e-news and monthly newsletter by sending an email to info@uuc.org. And if you want to watch past UUC services, check out our YouTube channel. And if you're looking for a way to be of service, food collection first Sunday of each month, engage your search for truth and meaning. Please check the e-news and UUCG website and calendar for other ways to connect and read the list of regular gatherings. As we say together the words that we say as we extinguish our chalice, followed by another responsive reading, which unfortunately I forgot to get the words to Christiana. So if there's a hymn book near you, it's number 733. But we will extinguish the chalice first. Ready? We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we were all together again. And the reason I still call, this is the 733, let me find it. I know it's the last one, I have a paper, okay. This was a building dedication, and I thought in a way, we're kind of like rededicating this building because we've come back into it. And this is called a place of meeting. Out of wood and stone, out of dreams and sacrifice, the people build a home. And you all built this building. Out of the work of their hands and hearts and minds, the people fashion a symbol and a reality.
May this house be truly a place of meeting, meeting one another with warmth and joy and openness, meeting one with another with courage and love and trust.
May all who enter here trust one another so surely that they dare to share the deep fires that burst into anger, as much as spring waters that swell into laughter, the slow erosion of wounded tears, as much as the soaring song.
May these walls know silence as 100 hearts surge inward, each for its own small spark of hope that might otherwise be snuffed out in the noise.
May these rafters hear the voice of the child, as surely as that of the orator, and the sound of the lute, and the clack of the typewriter, the swish of the broom, and know that all are as holy as the shout of a million stars.
May the rain fall lightly on this house, the sun shine warmly, the winds blow softly, and bless it as a place of joy and peace.
And for closing words, once more, you get to respond. May your light shine. This is inviting our light to shine. modified by a family winter solstice ritual by John Halstead. When you celebrate the winter solstice,
May your light shine.
we shut the lights out and walk it with candles.
May your light shine.
When you share love,
May your light shine.
when you work for peace,
May your light shine.
when you teach someone,
May your light shine.
when you comfort someone,
May your light shine.
when you create works of beauty and love,
May your light shine.
when you laugh together,
May your light shine.
when you grieve a loss,
May your light shine.
when you are challenged to change.
May your light shine.
Bless yourself with the light. Our service has ended, and now our service to one another and the wider communities begin. Be well, beloveds, and continue to wear your masks. Get vaccinated if you haven't already, and reach out to connect with others. Reverend Jan will be back March 13th.